So in regards to having a late period, what's happening is you're not getting that spike in progesterone to then drop and meet estrogen to stimulate menses. What's most likely happening is estrogen is here and progesterone's down here. Let's talk about your menstrual cycle. I've been informed on several occasions that a lot of women are not educated on their menstrual cycle, from basic physiology and as to why they experience what they do during a cycle. So let's break down the physiology of the menstrual cycle, and I'll throw little tidbits here and there as to why you may be experiencing certain things. So the average female cycle is 28 days. Now the factors that could influence this are like mainly stress, caloric intake, your environment, illnesses. But theoretically, a 28-day cycle is healthy. This 28 days is broken down into the follicular phase and the luteal phase. So starting with the follicular phase, days 1 through 7 is where a woman will have her period. This is where that uterine lining is breaking down. So from day 7 and on, this is where the lining of the womb thickens itself, preparing for an egg. During this time frame, we're gonna see a spike in FSH, which is follicular stimulating hormone. This is what sends the signal to mature the eggs. And each one of these eggs is enclosed by a follicle. And this follicle is what will produce estrogen, which is required for ovulation to occur. So ladies, if you're not ovulating, you may not be producing enough estrogen. In average, again, a follicle could take up to 2 weeks to release an egg. But once again, your stress, your caloric intake, your training could all dictate whether that's shorter or longer. So as mentioned, that rise in estrogen from the follicles is what's going to stimulate LH, which is luteinizing hormone. And this is what stimulates ovulation to occur. This is where the largest follicle will get released from one of your ovaries. So now it's important to know it takes 90 to 100 days for a follicle to fully mature and reach the peak of ovulation. So this is where stress from like 2 to 3 months ago could be impacting you today. But back to ovulation, this is where LH causes the eggs to pass through the ovarian wall and be released with its dreams of meeting sperm. There is potential that you could feel slight pain and mood changes around ovulation, as well as digestive issues. If you're a woman with major mood swings and you're very emotional around this time, there's most likely a buildup of estrogen that you're not detoxifying properly. So supporting estrogen detox can help with that. So now on average, women will ovulate on day 14, but not all women will ovulate on day 14. It can be anywhere from day 12 to 18. After ovulation, the eggs will be swept up by the fallopian tubes, where it will stay alive for 24 hours. If you're looking to conceive, this is a great time to get down. But if the egg doesn't fulfill its dreams of meeting sperm, this is where it begins to disintegrate and you move into the luteal phase. So after ovulation and the release of that egg have occurred, this is where the follicle will collapse on itself and create what is known as the corpus luteum. And theoretically, after 2 weeks of progesterone rising, it starts to drop off a few days before you get your period. So what's stimulating menses there is when the drop in progesterone matches your level of estrogen, this is what's going to stimulate menses. So if we're talking about a woman that has a late period or an early period, we're looking at progesterone issues. And usually it's due to too little of progesterone. One of the biggest reasons why many women suffer from too low of progesterone is something known as the pregnenolone steal. So now pregnenolone is the precursor to all your hormones. But if you're in a chronically stressed environment, you're gonna steal from that pregnenolone to create cortisol, because cortisol is more important than your sex hormones. It's how we respond to stress. So obviously correcting the progesterone issue will be managing your stress. Most likely you need to eat more food because that's extremely common, but stress is stress. It could be coming from overtraining. It could be coming from a gut issue, from a viral infection. It's important to figure out where that stress is coming from. It's not just stress from like relationships, work, etc. So in regards to having a late period, what's happening is you're not getting that spike in progesterone to then drop and meet estrogen to stimulate menses. What's most likely happening is estrogen is here and progesterone's down here, or there's just not enough spike of progesterone. So in this case, this is where doctors give you like a bolus dose of progesterone to create that spike, and then they cut it out so you get that drop and stimulate menses. So you just need more progesterone, essentially, is what's happening when you have a late period. This is why like competitors will lose their cycle, because they're so stressed out from like low levels of cholesterol, because they're eating low dietary fats, and just an immense amount of cortisol being produced from being in a caloric deficit and putting their bodies through that. This is why they tend to lose their cycle. And then if we look at like an early period, this is also due to not enough progesterone. You get a bit of a spike, but not high enough, so it matches estrogen a little too soon, and all of a sudden you got your period early. So summing it up, that's pretty much the basic physiology of the menstrual cycle. If you like that video, drop a comment below and I'll look at making another video kind of diving deeper into like how can we correct low progesterone, mitigate symptoms of PMS, and just overall balance your cycle better. But I think either way, I'll make that video.